Hello again, friends, and welcome to another Side Jobs edition of 151. My name is Adam. You can find out more about 151 at 151theshow.com. 151 The Show. Yeah, that's right. I had this thought of doing the old-timey, like, the interwebs or whatever. For some reason, it kind of hit me in the head there. Anyways, find us on social media at 151 The Show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and probably a bunch of others. And you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that, YouTube. Like, follow, share, subscribe. If you miss any of it, like I said, just 151theshow.com. Friends, joining me tonight for this Side Jobs edition of the show is our old buddy and pal from Cinemablend.com, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Reyes. Hey, Mike, what's going on?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm wondering why, for a second, me saying the name of the show sounded weird to myself. You ever do that where you go to say something and it's like it sounds weird in your head and you can't figure out why?
Well, it's like I'll always try to, before my interviews, you might, if anyone were to watch me before my interviews, you might see me sitting here just saying, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com, Cinemablend.com, Cinemablend, because it's always easy to trip over Cinemablend.
Yeah.
Name, but phonetically, it's just easy to trip over. And then some people think you're saying cinnamon blend. But I will still to this day love the fact that Ben Schwartz and James Badge Dale busted my chops with that so lovingly. And it's like Sonic the Hedgehog called us Cinnamon Blend.
There you go. That's perfect. No, it just, I don't know what it was. I felt like I said the 151 The Show in my head, and it wasn't that. Anyways, this.
Okay. Have you ever seen Mickey Blue Eyes?
Oh, if I have, it's been a while. I can't remember.
I haven't seen it in a while either. I remember enjoying it. It's a dopey little movie. It's a Hugh Grant mob comedy. Get off my back, people.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Oscar winners. But anyway, it just reminded me of that joke in there where they call it the La Trattoria. And la as the in Italian. So it's like, so you're calling your restaurant the Trattoria.
Yeah, no, that's what it kind of felt like. No, that's a really good description of it. That's exactly what. Anyways, tonight as we
worked together before.
Well, I'll tell you. Okay, real quick, the one that gets me, because I'm starting to get old, and because I talk so much, I start to notice like things like your mouth gets tired if you talk a lot during the day, right?
Yeah.
So at the radio station, it's KGGO where I work, and when I get tired, it comes out KGGO.
Yep, because that just the G is like one of those things where it's one of those sounds that if you're not careful, it's kind of like a trench. You sort of like fall into it.
I got really worried about it at one point. I was one of my old professors. She was a like a vocal trainer and all that kind of stuff. I called her and I'm like, I'm having trouble here.
Do you have any advice for you?
Yeah, just enunciate, use your mouth muscles, that kind of thing.
Cool.
Same thing. It's the same thing as when you get cold and you have to talk, it's warm tea and honey.
Yeah.
So anyways, friends, as we do this Side Jobs edition of the show tonight, Mike has been so gracious enough to join us again. It's been a while since you've been on, I believe. Probably earlier this year sometime.
I think so. And, as much as you say that it's gracious, I do legitimately just like talking with you, man. And I love the show.
Real quick, Mike was nice enough to ask me to go on their podcast. Him and his buddy Matthew. God dang it. Matt, Overdue Rentals. I'll put a link at the bottom of the page, but we had a great time. We talked about Memoirs of an Invisible Man of all
Yes, we did. And Overdue Rentals I am very frequently on there with my good buddy Matthew Schuckman. And basically, is there a movie that you or your friends love, but the world does not seem to love? Chances are Overdue Rentals loves that movie, and we would love for you to love us and listen to us with your love.
It was a lot of fun, and it's hard to believe that we talked for an hour about Memoirs of an Invisible Man.
And you were the easiest episode ever to edit, because once we're done, Matthew usually edits, and he messages me the next day. He's like, he was one of the easiest episodes to edit. And that's not disparaging any guests, but the moment he said that to me, it's like, okay, obviously that's because this guy knows what he's doing. He is in radio. And it's just, we kept things moving. Or it was maybe just because it was that lightning in a bottle. Obviously the spirit of Chevy Chase was blessing us.
He's not dead.
No, but like a force spirit. Like he's not dead, but he's like projecting, okay?
Oh, can you imagine Chevy Chase as a force ghost?
Oh, I can think of a couple people that'd be really scared.
Oh, that'd be weird. Anyways, as we dive into the show tonight, we're kind of getting to the end of 2021. We've got a couple big movies coming out here with a lot of news surrounding them in a lot of weird, different ways. And on the last show, the last side job show we did with my wife, we had just come from Ghostbusters. And we talked about that, and we kind of skimmed over the top of Spider-Man, but God, I'll tell you what, in about a week, there's been so much more that's come out about this movie that it's kind of insane at the moment.
A lot of stuff coming out, whether it's real or not, we'll find out, because I'm sure you saw the tweet where Marvel sources, or whatever it was called, said that Tobey Maguire has 25 minutes in the movie and Andrew Garfield has 21.
The other one that I liked was, okay, let's start with Spider-Man. It's coming out on the 17th. The big news today was tickets actually went on sale. And yes, I did buy my tickets already.
Spider Monday, folks.
They also did you see the commercial they did with Tom Holland and Ned and what's her name?
Zendaya and Jacob Batalon.
Yeah. They did a thing where he goes, I'm going to be joined by two very special guests. And then those two show up and they're like, well, who else would it be? They were kind of they did a couple really, really tiny jokes about it. It was very well done. At this point, like I said on the last show with my wife, they're in this movie. They have to be at this point.
I am still not completely sure they have to be.
And the other thing I'll tell you is, did you see the promotional thing? That's where what always gets everybody.
Which promotional thing?
So apparently there's this promotional thing out on the internet. We all know that the internet is completely true. It is just a treasure trove of
verified information, guys. Cinemablend posted an exclusive poster with the Green Goblin on his glider on the No Time to Die poster. And you know that's real.
So anyways, no, they said one of the promotional things, it's got like Tom Holland's head. And in the background, you see the Tobey Maguire-esque costume, the head of that Spider-Man, on like a toy or something. I don't know what it was, but yeah. So it's one of those things, like that's how all these movies get ruined, though, isn't it? With the toys and the outside stuff.
Not always, because I still remember. I don't know if I think Marvel might still be playing this game. I'm not sure. But I remember when Winter Soldier was coming out, they had like a disguised Red Skull figure coming out, and everyone's like, Red Skull's gonna be coming back. I was like, nope,
we fooled you again.
Sometimes it can, because remember the black suit, which I'm still convinced that's a Spider-Man or Spider-Person from another dimension.
Yeah,
they through, and that was by toys.
God, that's the thing. Like, you keep getting all these new and intriguing little stories. The commercial I told you about 2 seconds ago about, them hinting around that there's more coming. You've got the thing from Brazil. I think my wife and I talked about this, but it was, the lizard's head whipping around for no reason. It's like, okay, is that a cutout Spider-Man, or did they leave that in to tease Miles Morales coming? There was another leak that Venom shows up and then gets sucked back into his dimension, but leaves a little piece of the Venom costume. I saw that somewhere today. And that's how Tom Holland gets his symbiote costume, that it's Venom, but it's not really Venom.
Well, that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, it would be.
I heard some people saying, they've teased 5 of the Sinister Six. Venom will be the 6th.
They, what was the other one today? Oh, that there's going to be a whole nother trilogy with Tom Holland.
Well, I think that's just piggybacking off of they apparently said, this isn't his last Spider-Man movie. This isn't the last Spider-Man movie Sony's making. This isn't the last movie we're making with Marvel. That might just be people piggybacking off of that, just like some people are already going wild over the fact that the head of president of the MGM Motion Picture Group is like, we had early talks with the producers for James Bond about the next James Bond, but they haven't made a decision yet, and we're letting Daniel Craig have his run. And now everyone's like, they've had early talks. It's like, this is probably just very early. When are we talking about this? I don't know if they're talking people yet.
Marvel's the best at getting people to talk, right?
Getting people to talk. You mean they're the worst at keeping secrets?
No, I mean the worst at keeping secrets in a good way, because let's face it, all the best TV shows, all the best movies, all the best anything always have water cooler talk around them. They have podcasts dedicated to them. talking about what's coming out, what's going to happen, and people theorizing and all this. Marvel's by far the best, right?
I don't know. I really haven't taken a look at that particular subject matter to gauge that. I will say that most of the good stuff has water cooler talk around it, but almost anything can have a podcast now. That's a standard operating procedure. That's quantity now, not quality.
Well, that's what I always remembered about, the TV shows that I remember being my most favorite are the ones that I talk to people about. The Shield, Heroes when it came out, because everybody was trying to put together what was going on, what was real, what wasn't.
I was just talking with a friend about that the other day.
The folks that, it wasn't my thing, but, Walking Dead had a lot of the water cooler talk.
And they've got all the after shows with Chris Hardwick.
Yeah, so to me, that's it's Marvel doing what Marvel does best. And you know what would be a really interesting movie that just hit me with all this? If they went back and made like a huge docu-series about that part of it, what we released, what we didn't, why we wanted people to think a certain way. Let's say for the sake of argument that in this new Spider-Man movie, we get Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, and Andrew Garfield, all as Spider-Man. We get everything, right? Then you have the documentary that goes back and takes a look at, okay, we didn't forget to take out the lizard's head getting whipped around.
Oh, no, I get what you're saying, because another good one would be, why did they initially announce Captain America Civil War as Captain America Serpent Squad, I think it was? Or
yeah.
They did the fake title, and all of a sudden it's like, nope, it's Civil War.
See, I think that was one of those things that was done because, wow, everyone's going to lose their shit when we say that it's going to be, Civil War. So let's mess with them a little bit.
No, that seems like the most logical explanation for that.
I mean, simple is good on that one, but no, I'd love to be in those conversations about, okay, what are we going to release? What are we not going to release? What are we going to take to our grave before this movie comes out, and so on and so forth,
Shifting another good thing about the whole Spider-Man thing is when they announced Homecoming, and basically it shifted everything.
Yeah.
Because I remember there was I think it was phase 3 that I think it was phase 3 that they introduced Spider-Man in. And they basically said, they basically just announced it one day out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, cool. And then all these other things like Black Panther or Thor Ragnarok had to move because of it.
Well, I remember they put it out in a trailer.
Oh, in Civil War, yeah.
But
I'm talking about Homecoming. I'm talking about when they announced Homecoming was happening.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But no,
the hello everyone in the Shield. Oh, that became an inside joke with our site, because before, usually when there's something big like that and we're going to write about it ad nauseum and there's not a lot of photos available, 9 times out of 10 you're probably going to have repeats of certain character photos.
Yeah.
We have made it I don't know if we're still sticking to it, but for a little while there was an internal rule not to use the shot of Spider-Man with the shield in Civil War, because we'd used it so many times.
See, I would do it just because of that. Like, we're going to turn into this curve.
And that's why when the No Way Home trailer dropped, one of our other editors went and screen capped a whole bunch of stuff from it, and it's like, there you go, fresh batch.
There you go.
And I did the same thing when The Matrix came out, because when they were running that special teaser site before the teaser came out, they're just dropping all these images left and right, and I'm like, holy shit, we need these.
Yes.
So just screen cap, and I just load it into a folder. It's like, there you go.
This is 151 The Show. My name is Adam. This is a special Side Jobs edition of it. As we do dive into it, if you missed anything with the show or want to know more, head to 151theshow.com on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at 151 The Show, and on a whole slew of podcasting sites and YouTube. Please like, follow, and share. As we do kind of wrap up the Spider-Man thing, because this conversation, it always starts one way, and then it goes around in a circle and becomes the same conversation with, okay, are they going to be there? Are they not going to be there? Are we going to get Venom? Are we going to get Miles Morales? You know what? The more I kind of think about it, the more I'd like to see Miles Morales get introduced.
I really would like that too, especially because I still think that's the best way that you tie Spider-Verse into the MCU proper, because they first mucked around with the multiverse to I almost feel like that was something that they had to do animated.
Yeah.
Because that was sort of a teaser for, okay, this is what happens in a multiverse. This is something you guys should really know about, because in a couple of years we might be playing with this. And now that they're continuing that franchise, I would think they want to have Miles Morales linked into the 616 universe. So that way, that is the movie universe, right? The 616 universe.
No, 616 is the comic book, like the main realm. I wouldn't be if they really are going to do another trilogy of Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland. Like if you have him battle the MCU version, I think the MCU version multiverse number is like 9999999 or something like that. It's something like that. But anyways, what?
I'm just thinking back to Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, 99.
999.
Oh boy. That's going to be the one part of the show that someone dives in on is us saying 9. Anyways, what I was going to say is if you did that trilogy and you wanted to get rid of Tom Holland after that, maybe you have him die to Green Goblin like he did in the Ultimates comic, and then have the Miles Morales character take up the mantle after that. That might be kind of a natural flow where you do introduce him, but he doesn't become that Spider-Man for a little bit.
That'd be interesting, but I almost feel like they'd steer away from that because that's what they did with Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Like we saw that happen in Into the Spider. So maybe that's a case against bringing that universe in. It just feels like it would be repetitive if it's like, oh, we did this in animated form, but now we're doing it again live action. Here you go, guys.
I don't think, hey, real quick, kind of changing the subject there. I don't think Doc Ock's bad in this movie, right?
I don't think so. Okay, so there's a theory that one of my colleagues had mentioned in a feature that you can find at Cinemablend.com. There is basically he was saying that if you look at the tentacles in certain shots, it looks like the red indicator lights are on, which means it's controlling Otto. So that may also explain why he's bad at first, because he's basically, I think they said he's being pulled in from the very end of Spider-Man 2 where he's about to drown with the tritium reactor. So now he's still alive. Squiddly diddly tentacles are still bad, and they're basically controlling his mind still. So they're going to have to neutralize that somehow, or it's going to have to be neutralized somehow throughout the movie.
What if that's the red nanotech on it that gets added? That's what neutralizes it and makes him able to think clearly again.
Red nanotech.
When they show his arms and you see the red going down it.
That's what I thought. I thought I saw like a red tinge on them.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was nanotech.
Like everybody was saying, does Otto absorb the Stark nano suit, the Iron Spider suit, and make itself more powerful, or does Peter use it to do the inhibitor deal?
That's a good question.
So I don't know.
That's a really good question, actually. I don't want you to think that I'm just like, that's a really good question. It's like, no, seriously, he's advanced enough at this point.
This is 151 the show, a special side jobs edition of it. I think we covered Spider-Man there.
More than somewhat. Yeah, we didn't even really have to touch the villains at that point either.
I'm so excited for this movie. I was telling it to my wife. There hasn't been a movie other than like Infinity War or Endgame or something like that I've been this excited about in a while. That I would, like we've talked about on the radio podcast. Like if I have a chance to see it in a theater or at home, 9 times out of 10 I'll just see it at home. This is when I will go to a theater. If I had the choice to see it home or there, I would see it in a theater.
Oh, absolutely.
So.
And, as much as I've groused about the Marvel movies, even when I screened Black Widow at home, I had to go see it in the theater for 3D, but, I saw Shang-Chi in a theater. I will see Spider-Man in a theater. I had to see Eternals in the theater.
Oh, Eternals. I really, I haven't seen that one yet. We did watch Shang-Chi. I really enjoyed Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi is wonderful. That was so much fun.
Hey, here's a question for you real quick, because Marvel and Disney have kind of put out the indicators that Captain Marvel was going to be the new face of everything going forward with the MCU and all this.
Did they really?
At some point, I feel like that's where there was a thought that she was going to be kind of the face of it, that they were going to make her.
I know that they were hyping her up to be so important in Endgame, and she does barely anything.
Well, that's what I was wondering. If this Spider-Man...
Which really wasn't anyone's fault, because Endgame was written before Captain Marvel, if I remember correctly, and they still had to figure things out with Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
That was one of those cases where not all the pieces were laid down, so I can understand if there's some sort of incongruity.
Well, let's say this Spider-Man movie does do huge. Do you think that affects the rest of Marvel going onwards out? That maybe Spider-Man is kind of that face or central character? Because, you didn't have you had 3 Iron Man movies, but he was in so many others. Is that the kind of case with this? And hell, we didn't even mention the Doctor Strange stuff in any of this, but.
No, nor did we mention that Jamie Foxx's Electro looks very much different in this movie, which begs the question, is he affecting a human presence, or is this another Electro altogether and not the Andrew Garfield?
Yeah. I don't know. Let's talk about
Goes all the way down, folks.
Oh, it's going to be...
I don't know if Marvel has a face yet.
Okay.
I don't know.
Do you think they're...
I don't know how much they were actually putting into Captain Marvel being a face, so much as Brie Larson is just a big social media presence to begin with.
Yeah.
I don't know if they really have... if they have a face, they haven't shown it yet, because it just still feels like they're in the early stages of, well, you're going to find out what we're all about soon, so enjoy the ride. Like, I enjoyed the ride with Endgame, and I would have really liked you to... Seems like you had more of a plan right now. Feels like you're back to square one.
I kind of feel like there's a little bit of feeling it out in Marvel right now, where they've tried a bunch of different things all at once.
Yeah, they have tried way too much at once, because you want to experiment with the movies, fine. Have the Disney Plus stuff locked down. But if you want to experiment with Disney Plus, fine. Have the movies locked down. Yeah. This feels very free-flowing, free-forming, where it's not very uniform quality. And like the last thing I remember really sinking my teeth into was Loki.
Real quick, if you do get a chance, watch Hawkeye. The first 2 episodes are out. I think the other one drops sometime this week. It's really good.
I think it's weekly drops from this point on. I'll start it at some point. I know I will.
It's one of those things, like, everybody wants to make fun of Hawkeye, and they do a really good job of going into that part of it. And the way they intersplice some of the movie stuff into this is really cool. Yeah. So, anyways,
it does sound interesting.
It's fun. And like I was telling you before this, I read somewhere that they base it after, they wanted to do it kind of in the realm of Die Hard, which
adds a couple points to a tally for me to actually watch this thing. But I remember WandaVision was good for 3 episodes, and then
well, that's the thing. Kingpin is hinted at that he might show up, the Daredevil Kingpin.
I hope they just keep the Daredevil Netflix canon intact, because then I can go back and watch. I have an excuse to go back and watch it then.
Have you not seen Daredevil?
I saw like a couple episodes of it and really liked it, but just didn't set aside the time.
Daredevil's pretty good. Jessica Jones was okay.
I heard that the iffiest one was Iron Fist.
I didn't even bother watching Iron Fist. I heard too much.
Good.
I heard too much bad about it to give it a try.
Oh, what, Iron Fist?
Yeah.
Yeah, Luke Cage I heard was really good though.
Luke Cage had the best music ever in a movie. Speaking of that, and this is where we're gonna kind of diverge here, but really good music in a series so far. Not one that we plan to talk about, but Cowboy Bebop is actually pretty good on Netflix.
I need to watch that, because first of all, I need to finish the original anime.
Yeah,
because I haven't finished.
I've never seen the anime. I'll say that right now.
I do love what I've seen of the original anime, and all of the looks at the Netflix show that I've gotten, I have been bowled over with. And if you're such a fan of the music, it's because Yoko Kanno, the composer who did the music for the original show, came back for the Netflix revamp.
It is,
and that's beautiful music.
Oh, it's great. Like I said, I've never seen the anime, but basically think of a 70s cop show in the future.
You need to pull up Too Good, Too Bad. That's the name of one of the tracks from the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack. That is probably my favorite.
All right.
Out of the ones that I know. It is just, it is very much like you said, it's 70s cop show. And the best way to describe that music is take jazz, mix it with a 70s cop show. Because there's just these bombastic horns and really great drum lines, and just, it's,
oh, it's wonderful. I really like it.
I know your work is peerless.
I liked it a lot. I think it's fun. I've watched 4 episodes, I think. This is probably one of the best I've liked John Cho.
I love John Cho.
Cho or Chow? Cho, yeah.
John Cho. I love John Cho, and I love that he's gotten this vehicle to sort of latch on to. He looks fantastic as Spike. Like, I have had no qualms, even though, like I said, I'm entry level on this show, but I have seen enough stuff out there to know that, yeah, this looks and feels like that sort of thing, and maybe that's kind of why I'm more open to it. Whereas I've heard some people say it's a bloodless remake of the anime. Some people just don't like how it changes things. That
internet, I think's interesting. They make smoking cool in it.
Yeah,
You
because
don't s-
Spike always did look cool with a cigarette.
like
And
you don't see a lot of anything making smoking look cool.
well, no, because just the huge push to end smoking and to basically cut that sort of stuff out of movies to the point where it's a descriptor on the ratings.
Yeah, I don't
Those are
know.
really interesting if you read the right ones.
I know this is gonna sound really weird, but it's a breath of fresh air.
No.
No, it's just you always see something bad about, oh, why are you doing, it's always and
Yeah,
I'm
like a
listen, I'm not
Republican
saying
after the
go out and buy a pack of smokes or anything, but it's just nice to not have that. Okay, the guy's having a smoke. Who
look,
gives a
dude.
shit?
Look, dude. If Robin Williams wouldn't give voice to a bird smoking a cigarette, why should anyone else?
Oh God. I don't know. We've talked about it before, but there's a book series. It's called Sandman Slim, and every time I reread it, I want to drink whiskey and I want to go have cigarettes. So many smokes.
You just gotta love when something can invoke that sort of atmosphere in you, or that sort of
Yeah.
behavior, where it's
Whiskey
like,
and
wow, this
smokes.
really requires X or Y.
Oh, that'd be a good name for a podcast, Whiskey and Smokes.
I'm sure someone already beat you to it on Sirius XM.
Probably. This is 151 The Show. You can find us at 151theshow.com, at 151 The Show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Please like, follow, share. 151 The Show for everything else, and 151theshow.com for everything else. And find us on YouTube and Podbean and all that kind of cool stuff. All right, as we kind of wrap up tonight, the other big movie that's coming out in the month of December, The Matrix.
Matrix Resurrections.
There it
Yep.
is.
That crew gift was right. I still remember that whole thing where it's like someone took a picture of their crew gift from wrapping the movie, and they're like, "Is it Matrix Resurrections?" They're like, no, it's not the name of the movie. Guys, relax. Then the test screening, like a very early test screening, supposedly happened. It's like, oh, the movie's called Matrix Resurrections, and it gets very meta, and some people are gonna love it, some people are gonna hate it, and it's like, wait, is this really the title of the movie? And then it gets confirmed. It's like, yes.
A buddy of mine who I went to high school with, he was actually just in town this last week for the holiday, and him and his family came over, and I asked him, I go, hey, are you actually going to be in town, in December when this comes out? Because if he was, I was going to see if he wanted to go see it in the theater with me, because we went and so let me set this up. So in high school, me and this buddy, we would go to the late showing of a movie, whatever movie on a Wednesday night during school, and then we'd go get Perkins, and then we'd go to school the next morning, okay?
I love this story.
I spent so much money at the Windsong Theater, which is now an AMC, I believe, and Perkins that, do you guys have Perkins out there?
Yeah,
Okay.
we do.
Well, anyways, so we went and we had no idea what we were getting into when we went and saw The Matrix originally. Had no clue. None. And we come out and we're like, the f*** was that? And totally hooked on the movie, totally hooked on the universe they created. And, as you go into the next two, Reloaded and
Revolutions.
And the Animatrix, which we've kind of talked about before, I love the series. I think it's very cool. I had a lot of fun with it. To me, it was one of those things. It was one of those things. It was like, well, how the hell did you think it was going to wrap up? And I think it was I think that the thing you get into is it was a victim of its own success, the first one, because it was so different. It was so cool. It had the spin around shot, which nobody had ever seen before. It's like that kind of stuff only comes around once every 10, 15, 20 years in the world of movies.
Oh, yeah. The Matrix was probably our generation's Blade Runner, right down to the point where if you show a more modern generation The Matrix, they'll probably be like, okay, that's cool. I understand. Or in the best case scenario, because this is how I felt when I watched Blade Runner for the first time. It's like, all right, I understand why that was a landmark, but I've seen this done through so many other lenses before this that it's still kind of hard to, I think if I go back to Blade Runner more, the more I go back to original Blade Runner, I'll be able to deconstruct that sort of modernization. And if I'm making any sense here, and just be able to enjoy it better.
No, it really is. It's kind of like I use the example sometimes, like the Beatles and Nirvana. I'm not a huge Beatles fan. I'm not a huge Nirvana fan. But if you're gonna ask me, do they make great music and did they change the world of music for their genre and just music in general, I'm gonna say yeah. I know, I
Cool.
understand why, because it was so different. It was so cool. It was ahead of its time. All these other metaphors you can use, and that was the original Matrix, man. That's why it was so good.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you're lucky, you are a movie or a piece of art or something that can tap into the zeitgeist, that can be on the pulse.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, you can get that. The only problem with that is sometimes you're a little too lucky and it's very much a product of its time. You go down the line and it's just gonna it looks it's gonna not gonna age well. But if you're super lucky and super talented, you get something like the Wachowskis' work on The Matrix, where they were working with William Gibson and all this old cyberpunk stuff, older like anime stuff that they had grown up with and they knew and we knew. But you spin it in such a way that it is timeless.
Yeah.
I went to the 20th anniversary when they re-released it in Dolby, and the effects did look dated, obviously, but it was still just I'm sitting there and it's loud as shit, and it's just this beautiful experience. And my wife has never seen the Matrix movies, and I am tempted to bring her because they are releasing the Matrix for the first time in IMAX,
Oh wow.
and I want to take her to. Oh wait, I think I'm indisposed at that time. I'll have to check because I think it's only 2 nights.
Oh
And it's
wow.
a shame they're only running it for 2 nights because they should be running this for like the week or two before Resurrections comes out. Because it sounds like this is going to be the one movie out of all of them that we really have to focus on.
That's what from the trailer we've seen, from the way they did the website, some of the
I love
social
that
stuff,
website.
from all this. What do you think's happening in it?
Oh, okay. I'm going to preface this first by saying I have a good friend of mine, Jason Richardson, aka Jay Rich. He runs J1 Studios. I owe him a visit to his place because we need to record Spider-Man and Matrix theory videos. So, Jason, I will still talk with you about this. You know I will, but since I'm being asked, I really have to go into it.
I
Okay,
beat you
so
to it, you bitch.
oh, you take that back. You love Jason. You would absolutely love that man.
a lot of your friends seem like people I'd get along with fine.
Oh yeah, including my buddy that just moved out near your neck of the woods, who is apparently going to be in town when Matrix is coming out, and he's like, dude, we're going. And your story reminded me of that. It's like, yes, we are going. Because I
No,
remember talking with him online, the old days of AIM. We would pass like links of what was going on and like all the rumors. And I still remember there was that big rumor where, oh, we're gonna get to see earlier incarnations of the Matrix, like an 80s Matrix or something. And then there was a rumor of like a low altitude helicopter sequence. And that was one of the ones that stuck with me that we didn't really get. But I think if the trailers are correct, we're gonna get that low altitude helicopter sequence in this one.
so it's basically, where's Neo, do you think is he in the
Okay.
Matrix, or is he in a prison within the Matrix?
Okay. So little bit of backstory before we go into this. There was the online game, The Matrix Online.
Yes.
And from what I understand, one of the plot threads that was going on in that game, which sadly shut down, was that after the end of Matrix Revolutions, the machines were not surrendering the body of Neo. Like they had his body and they wouldn't give it up. And I'm assuming to that effect, they also had Trinity's body because she was there with him and, he made
Yeah.
the deal to go in and fuck Agent
She was
Smith up.
kebabbed.
So that was also in the long run, Morpheus was apparently killed in the Matrix Online. And then there was like some sort of plot line where there may or may not have been like a machine double masquerading as him. I really need to look deeply into that because I think, first of all, I think Matrix Online and the Enter the Matrix lore are going to be important. And I'll circle back to Enter the Matrix in specific in a moment. Where I think this whole thing is I think the theory that there may be another one and they've broken bad may be true, because there is a theory that the one in this current iteration's broken bad and somehow they need to bring back Neo. And that's why you got young Morpheus and you've got Trinity. There were 2 posters revealed recently that a friend, my buddy Kyle, the one I was talking about that wants to go see the movie, pointed out these two posters that they released recently. Neil Patrick Harris's character, who's a therapist, it's just him sitting with his hands sort of tented like this.
The Architect?
Bingo. Okay. You're going to get the next one because the next one's the easier one. There's a picture of Jonathan Groff's character, the smarmy guy who's like, after all this time, going back to the Matrix. He's sort of turned like this. He's got a gun in his hand. He's wearing sunglasses.
Oh,
maybe a new Agent Smith or a new head agent anyway. Because if you go back and watch that trailer, I swear he's reenacting the scene where Smith beats the shit out of Neo in the hallway before he takes the phone call to get out. And then on top of that, there's a scene where Keanu Reeves is like kneeling and like looking in disbelief, and there's a gun being pointed at his head. I think that's also Jonathan Groff, because you go to that scene where the gun gets shot.
Yeah.
And like the face is obscured, but I'm just looking at it and it's like that looks like him.
What if it's something really simple? You remember the line from the original Matrix when he's talking about the red pill and the blue pill? What if this is what happened if he took the other pill?
Well, that's the thing. He's taking blue medication.
I know,
taking blue pills right now.
But what if that's where it kind of started, where you'll wake up and you'll go along with your life? I can't remember what the exact line is.
You take red and you see how far the rabbit hole goes.
Yeah, but then the blue
what
pill.
You're saying is this might be like a parallel universe splintering off of Matrix 1 where he takes the red pill or he takes the blue pill.
Or it's the next iteration of the one. That's Neo, the next one, right?
See, that's what I was thinking originally, but now that you mentioned it, maybe that is why they're putting such importance on the first movie.
Well, but hear me out, where this is the next one. He got to that point in the movie where they had the pills, right? And what if the machines reenacted that scene and they're like, hey, you could, take the red pill, get all the answers, or you take the blue pill and, it's going to be fine. You forget about it and everything's cool. So he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to take the blue pill. And then they have to keep feeding him because all his power is essentially leaking out.
That's exactly what it looks like, because it looks like he's still going to a therapist. He's going to a therapist. He has medication that he's taking the blue medication and he's in the blue world. And then you see that once he stops doing that, it looks like even the color palette just switches and it's all warm reds and oranges. And to that effect, the Neil Patrick Harris poster is an orange reddish tint and the Jonathan Groff one is a blue one.
You know what I always wondered about, and it's never been addressed, and there was never, it was just weird. Do you remember when it's going to be hard but it's something you'll never miss if you go back and look at it. When Keanu Reeves originally gets the phone and he's trying to get out of his office because the agents are after him.
Yeah.
When he's making his way through, he goes by somebody making a copy. There's a copy machine, right?
Yeah.
And there's a bright orange light that goes across it. And I've always wondered about that, if that was something else or something. I don't know why, but I've never seen a copy machine shoot out light bolts or light rays like that, light bolts.
Well, you haven't been around a lot of copy machines then.
But I mean, where it looks like light coming out of it.
Yeah, no, that's an effect that's been used with copy machines before.
I don't know why. That always stuck out to me for some reason.
I mean, not a bad. I mean, if for all we know, that is exactly what it means. There's so much of this iconography from the original movie that's present here that is also what intrigues me, because you look at the club scene where Yahya Abdul-Mateen II's young Morpheus is offering him the red pill saying, time to fly.
Yeah.
And that you look at other shots of that club, they're playing The Matrix 1. They're playing the footage of the first Matrix movie. And that ties into the theory / leak where there was a leak of like supposed audition tapes. And it was these people talking about, the trilogy. Well, the trilogy was landmark. And it really, it changed the way that entertainment was made and this, that, and the other thing. And the rumor was that The Matrix is a trilogy of video games in this world.
Yeah, I remember
which is
that.
How Jonathan Groff's line works both ways. It was like going back to where it all began, back to the Matrix. It's like, oh yeah, the Matrix games. Yeah, cool.
What if Neo, Keanu Reeves' character in this one,
becomes Knuckles the Echidna?
Sure, why not? I was just gonna say, what if he, like, in that universe where, if that's true, if it really was a game system, what if he's the guy who created it in the game and that's why he's famous and lives, like, is rich?
Wouldn't be surprising.
And like he's the writer of it.
Yeah, he creates all these games from his dreams, and makes so much money off it. It's like, those weren't dreams, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. And maybe
Those were movies that I saw on 2 different continents.
I just like when they're doing the fight scene with him and who we think is Morpheus, a younger Morpheus, and this time he just blasts him.
That's Morpheus. They pretty much confirmed it.
So I don't know. I'm looking forward to this. That's 2 big movies in like a week.
Yeah, and then The King's Man is releasing at the same time. Sing 2 is releasing at the same. Oh yeah, yeah. The King's Man's coming out around that time. Sing 2 is coming out around that time. It is so busy. And something that was interesting was The King's Man was supposed to be released in 3D and large format. Like, it was supposed to get the standard blockbuster treatment. Yeah. They canceled the 3D and the large format. And I think part of the reason is Spider-Man may be taking up most of, if not all, the 3D screens. So I think Sing 2 is also losing its 3D.
Okay. I never got into the Sing movies. Oh,
Sing is fantastic.
Real quick, going back to Spider-Man. We talked about it on the radio show. I still think that Spider-Man, the post-credit scene, needs to be Deadpool coming into the MCU.
It would be cool.
And doing and doing the Spider-Man-esque, what the and they cut it, right,
Yeah, but I still think they're gonna throw in, oh no, that's my line.
I'm
There's
A-okay with that.
Something where he teases him about the language. Like, such language.
I still think it'd be funny if Disney did a Deadpool movie where he cusses, but it bleeps, and he's the only one that can hear it bleep.
I still think it'd be funny if Disney makes a Deadpool movie.
I think they're going to, aren't they? They're supposed to.
They're working on one, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, I will be worried until I see the thing in the theaters, rated R, living up to the promises that everybody has been writing that their bank accounts may not cash. They're saying it's going to be R-rated. Don't worry, it's going to be R-rated. Yeah, but why would you release Once Upon a Deadpool? And why would you why would you start sort of maybe softening up the language about the movie to make us think that you might be turning it PG-13?
I don't know.
Also, why is Blade PG-13?
Ooh, really? Blade's going to be PG-13?
Apparently, Blade is going to be PG-13 because they have said that the only R-rated movie they're really focused on right now is Deadpool. It's like a small town liquor license. Only certain amounts of people can have it, and everyone else has to go wanting.
Do we need another Blade movie?
I'm perfectly fine with another Blade running movie. Mahershala Ali is going to be the new Blade, and Delroy Lindo may be the new. I forget the name of the character, but the character that Whistler was based off of.
Oh, okay.
Yes, please. As much as I would have loved for them to just kept the Wesley Snipes train rolling, I am perfectly fine with how they're casting this so far. Did you know we almost got Morbius like 20 years earlier?
Oh, God.
They shot the ending of Blade, where the alternate ending is Blade and I forget the name of the woman that he saves in the movie, but they're like on a rooftop, and all of a sudden, I don't know where they noticed this guy standing on a rooftop like across the way, and it was supposed to be Morbius.
Oh, really?
He was going to come in at some point. Yeah,
that's interesting. God, when was Blade 3 out? That's been almost
2003, 2004, I think.
I was going to say that movie's almost 20 years old now at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, and going back to the whole Ryan Reynolds thread, he was probably my favorite part about that whole movie.
That movie was bad, right?
Yeah, but I want to 2004. I want to go back to it now because I want to see if maybe I can appreciate its campiness a little more, especially because, Patton Oswalt had such wonderful stories about Wesley Snipes after making that movie, and Ryan Reynolds still gets one of the best profanities committed to film.
Yeah,
you know the one.
Yes.
Yeah. He stares Parker Posey vampire right down. He's like, you.
There's gonna be a long bleep
right
there.
Was that in the script, or did you make that up, little boy?
The Wesley Snipes thing kind of ruins it for me.
Blade 2 is still my favorite one. I love Blade 1. I still love Blade 1, and part of that is because Donald Logue is in it, and Donald Logue's a.
Do you ever hear the story about when they did their first test viewing of Blade, and everybody was there was something about they showed it to people, and everybody was like, "We don't understand what's going on."
Yeah, with the ending, because of the whole thing with the ending was it was a little more convoluted about like the whole blood god plot or something. So they like retooled that whole ending into something that was supposed to be more palatable and no blood tomato.
I really like the infight in Blade. I really like Blade 2. Like
love Blade 2. That was one of my first experiences with Guillermo del Toro.
You do not know who you are with.
Yes! Give me a whole movie where Ron Perlman and Wesley Snipes are just busting each other's chops throughout. And Norman Reedus gets to throw in some sassy little comment every now and then, because that was my first Norman Reedus sighting, and I loved him as Scud.
Oh, Scud.
Like, I knew of Blade, the series, and I don't remember if I think I had seen Blade 1 before Blade 2. Because I taped it off a pay-per-view, and I was like, I loved it. So then I hear Blade 2 is coming. It's like, yes! And that was it for me. I knew Guillermo del Toro's work from that point on, and it's like, I love this man. I cannot wait. I am going to see Nightmare Alley this week, and I am so excited.
There you go. All right, friends. That's going to do it for us tonight. This is 151 The Show, special Side Jobs edition of it. My special guest.
151 Nicola.
That'd be awesome. Special guest tonight, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com. You can also find him as a frequent guest of Overdue Rentals. We'll put links up and all that. Mike, you have yourself a good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on. Can't wait till the next time.
All right, everybody, have a good rest of the night. This has been 151.
Hey, Chucky, be with you.